Okay, so greetings. We cannot start this meeting until we have quorum for purposes of our executive committee meeting. That requires 3 officers. We have 2. So we still only have 2.
We're not allowed to deputize Hunter.
No, can't do it. Love to be able to, but doesn't work that way. So let me call Candace.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Teresa. We haven't really started because we don't have quorum.
Okay.
You're parking. Okay, thanks. Probably another 2 minutes.
You okay?
Yep. Suzanne, I just made you co-host. Obviously, you don't need to do anything until your presentation. I'm very sorry. Just waiting on fellow officers. As soon as you sit down, I can call it to order. Okay. I am calling the meeting of UNNC's Executive Committee to order at 7:10 p.m. My name is Laura Myers. I am the Vice President for UNNC. Introducing
Candace Jackson, and I'm the treasurer for UNNC.
And Michael.
Michael Soderstrom, the signatory.
So we can go around and introduce the others. Hunter. Oh, but you're muted.
Hi, I'm Hunter Reese, and I'm the Communications Director of UNNC and also a board member.
Okay, Teresa.
Hi, everybody. I'm Teresa Masonette. I represent the West Adams Avenues on the board of the UNNC.
Susanna, just a very brief, just if you are.
I'm Susanna, Assistant Director of the California Dance Institute, and I'll be doing a presentation later for a neighborhood purpose grant.
Okay, Mark. I'm just calling on people in the order I see them. Just introduce yourself, please.
Hello, Mark Reagan with Beautify LA.
Thank you. And Siobhan, if you can introduce yourself, please.
Hi, Siobhan O'Neill Schwenk. I'm a candidate for one of the seats in Region 4.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to share the screen with the agenda. I gotta do that in a moment. So can everyone see the agenda up on your computer screens?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to go through it. First is the welcome and call to order, review of the agenda and a roll call. Then we'll have general public comments or announcements. These are on any items not on tonight's agenda. Then brief executive committee officer reports. Probably tabling 3C minutes because I have not seen any. We don't have them. Item 4 is funding requests, and we have several. I think we'll need an adjustment to the agenda, but let me just finish going through the agenda. 5 is just a discussion about our governing board vacancies, if we even have time to have that discussion. 6 is our election update. 7, committee reports if or as needed, if any. And then 8, we will discuss agenda items that we know about for the next governing board meeting, some of which are on this agenda, and then we will adjourn. So going back to this review of the agenda.
My hand is raised, Laura.
Yeah. Yes, thank you, Teresa.
You're welcome. I would like to request that the board amend the agenda, item number 4B, to reflect $2,000.
4A. 4A.
Oh, sorry, 4A. Sorry, there are two $5,000 amount. 4A, to reflect $2,000, which is the amount on the NPG that's in the Google Drive. And I say this because Laura is recused from participating in this.
Nor have I even read it.
Yeah.
I cannot make a motion on this, and neither can Teresa, only you and Michael.
Okay.
To amend the agenda on that item.
I move to amend the amount for the agenda item 4A to $2,000 instead of 5. Because
I will second that.
Okay, and I am unable to vote.
okay, I'll call for the vote. Do I have to- or is it just
Michael and you.
Oh, okay. Michael,
I'm yes.
and I'm a yes as well.
Thank you. Okay, and then again, 3C, which is our minutes, is simply tabled. Okay, stop the share. For the record, that a couple of for the records. We're recording this meeting both on YouTube and through Zoom, and Zoom now has a function where there's also an AI-driven transcript. So in lieu of minutes, we're going to end up with a transcript. And for that record, present at this meeting are Michael Soderstrom, Candace Jackson, and Laura Myers for the officers. So we do have quorum. So that is the roll call. Next item is general public comments and announcements. Anything that anyone may wish to make a comment on for an item not on tonight's agenda. If just raise your hand, please. Okay, moving on. Executive committee business, including updates. Treasurer's report.
Don't really have a treasurer's report, other than our murders are all caught up, so that's good. So the next murder that we'll have to vote on is the one for this month at next month's meeting.
Well, do we have an invoice to pay from Anne somewhere?
I emailed her and she has not responded yet, so I also will follow up with her to make sure that we can start to catch that up.
Yeah, Hunter, just FYI. So, because we don't usually have quite this problem, but Anne needs to invoice us, and the latest she can invoice us, absolute positive latest, be about May 20th.
Yeah.
For everything, for the whole year. We haven't paid her hardly anything.
No,
this
she has
year.
not sent us a invoice for
Right.
this year, and I sent her, so Anna, our city clerk person, sent out an email that says the contract was finally finished. She sent that out at like
4 weeks.
yeah, maybe like the beginning of March, the end of February. So the contract was finally done after all of the go around with the city. So she sent the email to and a copy of the contract to both myself and Anne. And then we responded, okay, thank you. And so I thought she would send us an invoice, and she has not yet. So I sent her a follow-up email maybe 2 weeks ago at this point saying, hey, Anna sent the email, just looking forward to like, please send me the email so we don't have to do this all at once. And I still haven't heard back. So I could send her a
Well, so
follow-up.
Candace, if you would copy Hunter,
Okay.
and Hunter, since you technically supervise her, because you're going to need to review. I mean, what she really should be doing is giving us a group of monthly invoices with, saying, whatever she usually would do. I don't know why she hasn't been invoicing us, because it would have been better if she had just been invoicing us all along, and then the city would take the blame for not paying her and pay her fast. Now they're probably going to wonder if she's been working all this time or not. So
She hasn't sent any invoices for January through March so far.
She hasn't sent us any invoices all year. Right? So usually she would send us an invoice a month, and it was roughly like $200 or $250.
450 to 500.
Yeah. So she would send us the invoice and we would, pay her out monthly, but she has not sent us an invoice. Now, some of that pause was due to contract negotiations, and we had to go back and do a couple of things with the city. But they finalized that, like I said, let's call it the beginning of March.
Right.
So now.
So she has probably only been paid for July and August, I think.
Probably so, yeah.
And whatever catch up she had for June, if anything. So the problem is here we are near the end of the contract term, and we need to start over on the for next fiscal year's contract.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
So we need to catch her up and then find out how we can avoid this kind of delay going forward.
Okay.
But-
yeah, if you want to CC me on that email, Candace, that'd be great. I've been chatting with her and Doug recently, but I haven't heard back from her in about a week or so. But I mean, she's obviously the problem's persisted longer than that.
Yeah. And Doug is certainly doing the day-to-day work we need for agendas and things like that. And it sure looks like the website has the election stuff up on it. So they've done what we've asked them to do. It's just, we're also saying we have to, if you bill us late, you don't get paid at some point, because this is this year's money. And so we can't give it to her next fiscal year. Okay. All right. Anything else? I know that you weren't planning to even have that part of the discussion.
Well, no, I mean, that part is fine, but that's it, basically.
Okay, well, That's semi it, so we'll remember that. We need to plan on our spending, so. Hopefully, we're finalizing some MPGs tonight,
Yes.
and then the April executive. Is kind of the last of it for anything we want to vote on related to writing checks. Because that'll. Be, motions for things that require checks will have to happen at the May board meeting.
So that
And the last check submission is like May 30th or thereabouts, maybe June 1st. It's not June 2nd, let me just say it that way.
yeah, right. Yeah, it's not.
I don't know what, I'm not looking at a calendar, but that means anything that we're gonna be spending check writing money on
We have to vote on.
no later than the May board meeting. And then at the June board meeting, we start, it's the last opportunity we have to juggle rollover versus spending. And that, among other things, we need to discuss. We have the approval to discuss a purchase of compostable supplies for events and for governing board meetings, and we could use a credit card perhaps to purchase it, but we should start thinking, maybe we don't want to, I don't know what we need to look at what we have for money. So that we know if we need to do that as our credit card expenditure. To keep us down below 10,000.
Well, that, and we also still have emergency funds that we voted to.
Yeah, but they don't roll over.
But it doesn't roll over. I will say this, Ed has contacted me about a nonprofit that he knows. He was supposed to come tonight. So I will talk to him about it to see how he feels. And I'll also kick this out to anyone else. If anyone else knows of nonprofit organizations in our UNNC footprint that are doing things in order to help.
I don't know if we're running out of money to spend or not running out of money.
We're not, but
because
if
we
the
haven't
time.
been billed by Ann.
Yeah.
Because it maybe she won't get her full years if she can.
Why? She will.
No. She won't if she didn't do the work. She might not be invoicing us because she's not been asked to do much work.
Okay, I'll make sure that I talk to her, but also we do have that money that's still available for wildfire support. And then the rules around that, basically, the group has to be within our UNNC footprint.
No,
Oh,
that's our own rules. We can certainly donate that money. Well, we still have World Harvest, we'll talk about this, World Harvest is still coming to the next board meeting.
Okay.
So that's possibly a big chunk.
Okay.
So we may not be rich, we just need to be organized.
Gotcha.
Okay, all right. I'm sorry, Teresa, my back was to you.
No, that's okay. I would like to ask Candace, how much money do we have, Candace?
That's what.
Oh, well, what's the?
I don't know.
Yeah.
And I didn't bring my hotspot.
And I don't have mine either.
Yeah.
So I do not have that amount in front of me now, and my computer is not online for me to look at it on the website. But the last time I looked at the amount when I logged onto the website for the year, we have spent around $12,000.
Yeah, but remember, we have expenses that come up.
Yes,
I know, that's kind of what I'm asking. I just don't want to spend the time to look up the admin packet. I know we have expenses, so I'm asking how much money do we have?
She doesn't
for
know.
NPGs, for outreach?
Okay, so all these numbers that I have for NPG, for outreach, I have them there. So NPGs is around $9,000. Election is $4,500, and outreach is around $7,600. And that was when we decided to include the rollover into the funds that we already had. So for the year, we had like $42,000 as a total budget.
Right, but again, Teresa, the problem is, we're not on, none of us are on.
I know, Laura, I'm just like for outreach, didn't we allocate some of that for the fires?
Yes,
Right,
So
so we
that's
don't
what
have
we were-
7,600 available because we've used some of that already.
but I'm saying that was the total, but I don't have that in front of me because I'm literally not online to look at it because I'm not.
I didn't bring the my
Yeah.
hotspot with me to allow
Okay.
people to go
Yeah,
online.
but if anyone wants to see, it's real time available on the clerk's website.
Well, that's true, but here's the thing. Yes, we allocated 3,000, broadly speaking.
Right. And
We
spent-
just, well, we've already spent some,
we've spent around 700.
right, plus we've got another 500 about to go out the door.
Right,
For the
firefighter
firefighters banquet thing. Right? And so you can subtract those two amounts, 1,200 from 3,000 and it equals, sorry.
Yeah,
18
like
1,800 left in that fund.
in the fund.
But it doesn't roll over, meaning if we don't have anybody else to
Yeah,
spend
I
that
know,
money.
Laura. I remember I've been on the board for
I
a little
know.
while here, so I understand. I just was looking for some high level numbers, but you're right. I can go right on the site, the
Right,
city
but-
clerk and find it. All right,
Right,
thanks.
but the big deal is if it turns out that we're not gonna get an invoice from Zumwinkle.com for the
We
full
have to
amount.
get that. I know, I just heard
No,
you.
no,
and
no,
Ken-
I'm saying if it turns out she doesn't need, we've budgeted X amount per month, but if she might, X I think was 500, right?
Whatever
she
that
bills us-
contract is, Laura, we are going
But
to
he-
pay that. I
But
don't,
no,
we
no,
are
no,
not
he
gonna,
Teresa, that's
So-
not how it works. It's an up
if she's gonna
to-
provide Hunter or Candace a monthly invoice
Yeah.
back, you know,
What my thought probably is that she's probably going to give a large, like, here's the backtrack.
I don't wanna guess, I want,
Invoice, but because we haven't heard from her, all of this is conjecture. So
Right.
how about this? I can report back when we hear from her exactly how much she's billing us at one time, and I could have a full breakdown of.
well, we'll have that for the governing.
Yeah,
But I don't wanna have this long discussion about Anne at the governing board meeting. Because we have so many items on this needs to be a 2-minute discussion. Because she needs to have already invoiced us by the time we get to the governing board.
which is
Basically,
fine. So I'll make sure, even if there's a phone number that I can reach her at, maybe a call is better than an email.
They
so I
answer
can
the phone.
actually
It's
talk to her about.
yeah, I'll
sending
discuss that
it
with you.
invoice.
Okay,
So yes, I will follow up with y'all.
okay. Because again,
Yeah, I
By
understand.
May.
We're on a limited time, so
Timeline.
we need to, yes. I'll
Exactly.
explain all that to her. It's fine.
okay. Vice President's report is very simple. 100% of our current board is up to date on their training. Yay. That will change starting in June. Everyone who joined the board in my pledge class, as it were. Any board member who has a term that's expiring now, at the end of June, and who has just spent 4 years on board, their ethics and their funding training will also be expiring. And I mean, I looked at it, it's a range of between, depending on when they took the training, between June and August. But everybody expires who's been on the board for 4 years. So Michael, you're gonna expire, I'm gonna expire. Teresa, you're gonna expire, but it won't matter. Unless you change your mind and decide to come back to the board. Just saying.
I'm sorry, I missed that last part. I just want you guys to know, I just talked to Ann. She's sending the invoices out tonight.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay, simple solution. No more surprises. Okay, anyway, everybody's caught up. We do, as everyone knows, have a few board members whose attendance has not been great and they're not running for the board. So it's kind of a self-fix. We're not going to have executive committee minutes to review and approve. I left the item as discuss executive committee minutes And last month we did discuss it and said, no, we want minutes and not just rely on the AI transcript, but that's, where we are. So we don't have minutes again. Okay, next item is number 4, funding requests. And the first one, a proposed NPG from Beautify LA. I did discuss this with the city attorney, and she instructed me to inform everyone that I am recused from this matter due to my geographic proximity. I own a house and live within 500 feet of the address of the applicant, so I am leaving the room. I did not even launch. I'll show you where it is. I haven't seen it. I haven't clicked on it.
That's fine, I'll do it.
It's right. Where is it? That one.
We got it.
Okay, and I'm walking it. And then you have to share and everything.
Mhm.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to share the screen here. Hold on. And then we have a returning request from Mark Reagan with Beautify LA. He was at our executive committee meeting last time. So if you're ready, Mark, you could share with us
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Your
I'm ready.
your updated packet here for Beautify LA.
Okay, awesome. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Okay, great. So my name's Mark Reagan with Beautify LA, and the main purpose of this grant is to provide support for the homeless people, to help them get into permanent housing. And also, we know that with this situation comes a lot of different individuals with different needs. Some of them, they might need some hygiene kits. They might need a day or two's worth of food. But the main strategy is to help the homeless receive permanent housing and to end human suffering. In addition to this grant, we have 3 different events for trash and graffiti cleanups. We have a gardening event where we would create a garden within the boundary maps, and we have one event, a gardening event free for the public to enjoy, led by an educator, an educator from one of the schools in the area. So this would provide over 120 hours of charitable services for the neighborhood, and it would be in addition to existing services to help spruce up the neighborhood and create civic pride. The events are tailored to create community engagement and to allow the community, a chance to socialize, have an event to go to, and we'll have some gifts, some food, some water, and we will report back to your neighborhood council with these 4 objectives that I've listed, time of days, pictures, and let you know what we were able to do with the NPG. Thank you.
Okay. When exactly is the event scheduled for?
Okay, so the event would be scheduled in early June.
Okay.
Yes, and all of the events are scheduled from April, May, and June to allow us additional time in the neighborhood to continue these efforts, because we understand that we can go out there and clean a street today or tomorrow, but in a couple weeks it might get dirty again. So we want to be able to continuously touch the areas to create the best impact possible.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions for Mark on his project or his proposal?
Am I allowed to ask questions even though I'm not a member of the committee?
Yeah, go ahead.
Out of curiosity, for the gardening event, how closely does that mirror or pick up the objectives of the city and county water-wise program?
Mhm. Okay, so so we have two gardening events. One is a gardening event where we are creating a garden on a public space to create more green space. The other event is a gardening event free for the public where an educator educates us, yes, about the importance of biodiversity, and people can leave with a gift or a plant that they seed that day.
Right,
Um,
and on the second, what I'm asking is, does this educator come from the city, the DWP Waterwise program? Is it somehow connected to that?
Oh,
And does
okay.
it leverage those resources, or is this something completely different?
This would be an educator from one of the schools. So one of the teachers from the schools. So they would be a city employee.
From one of the schools,
Mhm.
so a gardener from one of the elementary or middles or high schools in the area, or
Okay, so we work um, we work with the different schools to provide an opportunity for an educator to help teach the public. So it would be a teacher from one of the schools. Yes, one of the elementary, middle, or high schools.
So if I could just ask, sorry, Siobhan, I'm just going to jump in here. Mark, have you selected the school? Do you have a contact from one of the schools? If we can recommend the 24th Street Garden School. They have a gardening program. Maybe you can speak to them and they can provide somebody for one of your programs. Also, I wanted to ask about the location. You said a public space.
Mhm.
Which,
that was my next question.
oh, sorry to cut you off. Just
No, it's fine. That was my next
Oh,
question.
okay. What location do you have in mind? Have you gone through the approval process to get permission from the city to do some gardening or planting in that location?
Right. So these are all really great questions, and they're directly in line with our initiatives. We plan to reach out to the schools. So this would be
Okay,
in
let me just,
collaboration.
hold on, Mark, just a second. So first of all, let me just say thank you for coming back. But it seems as though you haven't worked out the details, which is fine for me. But if I understand correctly, you have not worked out all the details for this initiative yet. Is that correct?
That's in part with the reward. So I don't want to reach out and plan to create a garden on a public space, have the city approve it, and then we don't receive the MPG, and then it kind of falls back on us, and we don't have the resources.
Right.
So
Well, let
this
me
is
just
in
explain.
collaboration.
That's normally how it works. Somebody comes in with a detailed plan, and then they
Mhm.
say, this is what we want to do, and we need this money for you to complete this project. You don't, Candace and Michael will decide if that's the process they want to do this time, but feel comfortable in the future knowing that having a detailed plan and having those details worked out, it's much easier for executive committee to recommend that to the governing board, just for future information.
Yes, ma'am.
I also would share that not just for the governing board, but once the governing board approves an amount, then we send it to the city clerk. And so once I upload the application to the city clerk, she usually has a lot of questions about what's the date, what are the supplies. So I see that you do have a budget.
A budget, and we do have a budget outline detailing the dates of all of these initiatives.
Okay. And I could share the screen for those who want to see if you didn't get a chance.
And those are tentative dates, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, hold on. Let me share screen here. Give me just a second.
Mhm.
Okay, here we go. Okay, can you all see?
Yes.
Okay, so, oh, that's me. Yeah, so here's a detailed budget here of, this is for the community garden, right? So what you would need to do both the community garden and also the workshop and training.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, but then I also see that there are expenses here to distribute homeless kits to hygiene kits to homeless individuals, and also funds to collaborate with local service providers. So I
Yes.
guess my question
From-
would be, usually when we give MPG funds, it's usually to a specific event or a specific initiative. Would it be possibly easier if the funds that you requested were for either the gardening programs or for a for an event where maybe you were handing out homeless kits? That would probably make it easier for the city clerk to kind of see, and when we discuss this with the board, for them to be able to have a clear vision of what you would be doing with the funds.
Yes, well, in part of the events, we're able to provide additional services to help the public spaces. So we have a lot of work cut out in front of us for this request of $2,000. And it's 4 initiatives: homeless, trash and graffiti, gardening, and events. And so what we did was we split this up into April, May, and June, where we can help these, we can begin these initiatives for those 3 months of time, and provide a diverse service. So we're not just having one event with a gardening event, but we identify the area and we help first the most vulnerable people of the neighborhood, which are unhoused people. So before we host an event, a gardening event, we want to help the vulnerable people with their resources, with the care that they need to get off of the streets. We want to clean up the area from trash and graffiti, because we do identify a lot of graffiti in the area. And then after we have done these initiatives and we've helped the vulnerable people of the area and the dirty areas, then we want to celebrate. And we want to celebrate by creating a garden and hosting an event free for the public. Because we do notice that these charitable services, they do make a difference, and we want to relay that to your neighborhood council. And some of the details, they need to be ironed out, but we have a really amazing team who's really focused on these initiatives to help us iron those out. And that's where, our work begins. Based upon the decision of your neighborhood council, that's when we start working. This is just the paperwork.
Okay, I see that Hunter has his hand raised. Go ahead, Hunter.
Yeah, so do you have a location selected yet? Like a specific area in our neighborhood for the garden that you would want to create or for handing supplies out? You said that you identified places that were graffitied. Do you have specific areas?
Okay, so this again is the specific area is the United Neighborhood Council boundary map. So that's our direct area of focus. And then the exact areas of the homeless people, the trash, the garden, those are in collaboration with the community. So we don't have a specific area right now where we're going to create the garden, but what we would do is we would talk with the local schools and we would talk with the city and we would discover and basically plan together the best case scenario for a garden, how it's going to fit into the community.
I see. Okay, I have a follow-up question, but it might be more for Candace or honestly Teresa. If there's not a specific area, why is Laura not involved in this conversation? She said it was 500 feet away from her property, no?
The location of this organization is 500 feet from her home.
Oh, okay, so it's not
at
that we're planning on
1848
doing
Gramercy.
something, they just
Yeah.
happen to be nearby. Okay, gotcha. Thank you,
It's
Mark.
at-
I
wait.
appreciate it.
It's at
Yes,
eight,
sir.
you said it's at 1848 Gramercy?
That's where-
Mark,
that's-
your location is 1848 Gramercy, right?
Yes, ma'am.
I think that puts me in the 500 feet area. Oh, well, never mind. I don't vote. I can't vote on this anyway. Never mind. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that the funds for the $2,000 would be spread across 4 different initiatives. 2 of them around kind of a gardening aspect, where one, you'll have an actual garden that you're planting, and then you would have a workshop, education workshops for the community, and then you would also be distributing supplies for unhoused individuals in the footprint.
Yes, and as a nonprofit, we're able to stretch our dollar through volunteer programs, volunteer efforts. I'm a volunteer myself, and I believe in these. I believe in these initiatives, and I think we're going to have a really awesome impact, and we can create a really beautiful garden with the amount that we're asking for.
Listen, if I may speak, the one thing I would like to see, I think this is, you've made significant progress from what we saw last month. At least to me, it still lacks some details, specificity, and focus. I don't know if this is something where we could break it into smaller grants that were more specifically targeted to actually actionable things of like, here's the first tranche that's going to do X, and that there's dates and what have you tied to X, and then you can come back for the second one, and so on and so forth. Because I think sort of, especially as we move out to the last gardening things, that seems very speculative at this point, at least in my reading of everything.
And if I can add to that, a garden is something, to me, that's something that needs to be sustained over time beyond its initial groundbreaking and input. So I'd like to understand how the organization is planning to sustain the activities of that garden to prevent it from going into disrepair, et cetera.
Yes, we would plan to use sustainable plants, bushes, and native flowers.
No, what I mean by sustain it is to keep it going, like to continue to continue, weeding it, watering it, et cetera. I would want to understand what the plan to maintain the garden is. And how that's funded and how it's staffed.
Okay, that would be kind of left up to the city with the city services of, tending to the public spaces. And the plan of the garden would be planting sustainable bushes and again, native flowers, so that they don't require a daily watering.
I see Teresa has her hand raised. Go ahead, Teresa.
Yes, thank you very much, Candace. So, Mark, I am in agreement with Michael that maybe you can break this down into, maybe the 4 projects you have, like maybe the initial one can be obtaining hygiene projects for the homeless. And we could, and I'm speaking, I'm no longer on executive, so I'm just speaking as a board member. And then maybe we could support that. And then your other ones, as you have more detail, those are initiatives that we could support separately. Is that what you were saying, Michael?
Yeah, I mean, I think that really fits the profile of things that have come before us in the past and that tend to get moved forward.
Yeah, that's also my thought of the 3 kind of major events that you have listed here, or 3 kind of pillars of things that your organization is going to work on. I do think that you did make a point about servicing those in the community first, where the gardening and community education about gardens is more of the celebration component of that. So maybe it would make sense for us as the board to focus in on the supply kits or the hygiene kits, the food, and the services that you intend to distribute to the houses population within the UNNC. And maybe between, let's say, this meeting and the general board meeting, you could maybe flesh out like some dates. Here's where we're going to hand things out. This is what's going to be in our kits, because that is, to Teresa and Michael's point, those are the projects that get approved by the clerk. And a lot of times, if we're missing details behind what the event is going to actually be doing, like dates, locations, types of specific things that'll be needed, it gets harder to get the city clerk to approve it. So I'm looking at your request here, and it says that you would only need $250 for hygiene kits. How many hygiene kits would that cover?
That would be about 50 hygiene kits.
Okay, so I'll share this proposal to the board. Let's say, and have you given these kits out before, like in an average session of an event where you give out these hygiene kits? Like, how do you know how you give out?
Okay, so we haven't had our first project yet, so we haven't handed them out, but we do work with other nonprofits who receive donated goods, and we can utilize the donations in part with this neighborhood purpose grant to maximize the amount that we're handing out. So that's kind of why it's so cheap.
Oh, because you also have donations. So how about, okay, so here's my suggestion. Since this would be the initial event and you don't necessarily, I mean, you have an idea, but you're still kind of working through the details. I think that maybe I would recommend that we approve $500 for hygiene kits. That would help collect, because it says collaborate with, okay. So let's just say we'll do $500 if that makes enough hygiene kits, and then you can have the event and then see how that part goes. And then we can move into the other events, and that would give you time to flesh those out. Thoughts, executive committee? Fair, more, less?
I think
Sorry, what were we saying?
I would greatly appreciate the opportunity to have anything to benefit your neighborhood.
Michael was gonna share.
Oh, I was gonna, what was the plan for distribution on these and the timeline for that?
Okay, so for the homeless outreach, we had four different touches of from April to May. It would be bi-weekly, and I don't have the exact dates in front of me. I have it at my house, but it'd be bi-weekly, and it'd be for 2 months, and it would be throughout your boundary maps. So it wouldn't be one location, but it'd be multiple locations so that we could help all of those in need.
Okay, so I'm going to recommend to the executive committee that we bring this to the board, and we'll recommend $500 to concentrate on the hygiene kits, the outreach supplies. Let Mark kind of flesh out the details for that, and then to everyone else's point, see how that goes, and then you can maybe submit another MPG when we get to the other events that you want to sponsor as an organization.
Okay,
So-
and I think too, as we've been saying, this is just the first step where we make the recommendation to the rest of the board. The rest of the board then will come back with the same kinds of questions. So I think if we are going to go that route, I would really recommend that we get more detail, specificity into that. That will make it more successful when it goes to the entire board.
Yeah.
And then also to previous was to when the city finally then goes through the approval process. So if that's how you want to proceed, where I think
Yeah.
it's still somewhat unsure as to where the next thing is, you could also come back next month with that more detail and then have the vetting then. I think that's kind of up to you.
Okay.
Mark being you.
I see Teresa's hand raised.
Thank you, Candace. So, first, thank you very much, Mark, for coming to us. I know that you have rectified this nonprofit, so we're the first organization to provide you with the
Right.
grant. And I agree with Michael. If you could, in the next couple of weeks, provide a little more detail, and then also come to the governing board, which is the first Thursday. I don't know the date right off, but the first Thursday, and be able to. I think Candace and Michael just said that they would support the $500 and forward it to the board, but there may be more questions. But if you're able to provide greater detail, then there's a greater possibility that it will be.
And I can do that.
Okay, so I move that we move Beautify LA's request and amend that request to $500 to support outreach supplies to help support homeless members in the community. Do I have a second?
I believe I'm the only person who can second it, so I will
that's right.
second it. And
Okay,
then we'll go through the
second.
motions of voting on something that we
Right, okay, and then
we both moved.
so I guess Michael, you can
I will vote for that as well.
Okay, so thank you, Mark, for coming to share about Beautify LA. You've made some great
Yes, ma'am.
progress, and definitely get some dates and some deeper details,
Locations,
because
yes.
the board's gonna ask a lot of questions.
Yeah, I think dates, locations, and then like actually what goes into the hygiene kits that you're going out. If you're partnering with any other groups, what they are, what they're providing, that level of specificity, I think would be great.
Okay, that's a great idea. I didn't even think about that. Maybe I can include a picture of the
Sure.
hygiene kits. Yes, and I'll work on the dates and locations to provide a better understanding.
And then last thing I'll share, our board is visual, as a lot of people are visual. So sometimes folks who have done pitches for their MPGs have made like maybe just a slight PowerPoint to just kind of lay out the main points so we can like see where your
Okay.
vision, what the timeline is, etc. So,
Yes, ma'am.
all right. Thank you so much, Mark. And
Thank
you
you.
are welcome to stick around for the rest of our meeting, but if not, enjoy the rest of your evening, and thanks for coming back.
Okay. Thank you, United Neighborhood Council.
Thanks,
Excellent.
Mark.
Thank you for adding the second neighborhood. Take care.
You too.
All right, I'm gonna go get Laura. Hold on. I heard my phone ding, but it
Yeah,
was.
but it's It's okay.
Gotcha.
You want her? Oh. Where's everybody? What?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, what is
that?
that
I'm
list?
sorry. Okay. Close your eyes. Closing my eyes. I did not stop the share, but you can. Okay, you're back.
All right. Hi, everybody. Okay,
I'm sorry, I know that.
it's all right. So it's 8 o'clock. We are going to get through the rest of the agenda. Susanna is our next item, funding request 4B. The California Dance Institute requests an MPG for up to $5,000 towards a dance education program at Carson Gore Elementary. And Susanna is going to share her screen and tell us who she is. And I'm gonna just stop talking.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. Can you hear me and see the presentation?
Yes.
Awesome. I will try to keep this really short and sweet for you. So our organization is California Dance Institute. And our mission is to transform the lives of Los Angeles public school students through the joy and rigor of dance. And something very special about our programming is that we have live music in every single class, which is extremely unusual for a program that takes place during the school day. We serve underserved students. So 80% of our students are on the free lunch program. You can see a bit more of the demographics here. 75% of students are Hispanic. About half are of limited English proficiency, and about 2% are special education students. Although those are our overall numbers, and the numbers are actually higher at Carson Gore. We have one entire class of cluster students there. We have culturally relevant pedagogy. So part of our mission is to empower students to express themselves and their cultural background. So classes feature a number of languages, and especially at Carson Gore, we teach in Spanish all the time. We have bilingual instructors and often incorporate Spanish into our classes. And we think arts education is an equity issue. So lots of students, of course, don't have access to arts education and physical education. And our programming really sits at the nexus of both, because it's both an artistic experience and a very rigorous workout. We're jumping all the time. There's a picture of some of our kids at a rehearsal on the Carson Gore stage. And we have been at Carson Gore in West Adams for a long time. I just found out today that this number should actually, there's nuance to it. We've been at Carson Gore specifically for 11 years, but before that we were at Pio Pico School before they split into 2 schools. And we actually started working there long before my time in 2004. So we have more than a 20-year history working right in the West Adams neighborhood. Our programming consists of 3 core programs, in-school programs that are part of the students' school day. So everybody in the grade bands served come every week for 60-minute classes for 24 weeks throughout the school year. And then certain students who show special aptitude are invited to come again and join the after-school team. And then students from each school in the after school teams are invited to come to the event of the year, which is a really magical performance that happens in May at the Wilshire Ebell Theater. We know that our programming has really positive impact. We survey students, we survey classroom teachers, and we survey parents at the end of each year. And 90% of classroom teachers have said that CDI positively affects their students' emotional and physical health. Actually, not quite Q&A yet, because I want to say just a couple more things. We try to keep this program equitable by raising a lot of the money that it takes to make it happen. So it costs about $30,000 for a full year program at Carson Gore, and the school pays a third of that, and then CDI commits to raising the other 2/3. So it costs about $20,000 for the full year of programming. What we are specifically looking the NPG to support is the upcoming school shows and the event of the year. So I'm going to X out and show you real quick. The Carson Gore culminating performances at the school are on Monday, April 7th. There are 2 in-school shows for the rest of the students to come and enjoy, and then an after-school performance for parents and the wider community. These performances are totally free. They're open to the public, and they're really, really fun events that the whole community rallies around. And then the big show featuring both Carson Gore and other after-school teams will be May 29th at the Wilshire Ebell Theater. We have an educational theme every year, and this year it's Take Flight. There's dances about birds and air balloons and pioneers of aviation and students' own imaginations taking flight. So it's going to be a really, really wonderful creative performance. And I would invite the members of the Neighborhood Council to both of these events, both Monday, April 7th and Thursday, May 29th. And the after-school students are rehearsing constantly from April to May to prepare for these big performances. So long story short, we're seeking your support for these April and May events for our Carson Gore students. Thank you.
I have a few questions. Sure. And I don't know if anybody else has. So you've had a long relationship with Carson Gore School, obviously, and it sounds like your people longer than you, but you personally have had a long relationship, right? The name of the school is Carson Gore because they're also an environmental magnet. So how does this program intersect that, if it does?
Great question. We have a different educational theme every year. Huh. And last year our theme was poetry, but 2 years ago our theme was Into the Blue, and it was dances about the world's oceans. And we actually had quite a bit of overlap there because the students were researching, the oceans and marine environments and marine animals and, the water cycle and things like that. And the year before that, our theme was Mother Earth, dances about the earth. So we had like a dance about earthquakes and a dance about natural disasters and a dance about like the continents and how they shift. So there's actually quite a bit of overlap there where we're able to work with the classroom teachers and integrate scientific and climate concepts into the dances.
Okay. Teresa, you're looking like you have something to ask. Is that no?
I really like the idea of how they connect the environmental aspects to movement and to dance. No, I don't have.
Right. That. So I'm going to pull up the NPG itself. And what I wanted to see. So first of all, I want to say that our governing board will meet on April 3rd. So assuming they vote for even $1, whatever the amount is, there's no way the money will be in your hands by April 7th. So, are you, I assume you have the funds to put on the April 7th event? Because we would not be able to come up with that really. I mean, it's okay if it's retroactive help, but I'm just saying, if you needed the funds in advance, that we can't.
No, it would be retroactive. We can front it. And it's really kind of the time period of the April 7th show to the May 29th show. You know, these are the big events, but also then there's the after school programming taking place from April to May that is ongoing.
Got it.
So,
Okay, and then looking at the budget. So have
I
you?
do see a typo.
Well, that's not what I was gonna ask.
Okay.
Have you with neighborhood councils before with the other schools?
Yes, we have a school in Eagle Rock and have successfully received a $5,000 NPG from the Eagle Rock Neighborhood Council. And we have a school in Carthay Circle and have successfully received $2,500 from the Mid-City West Neighborhood Council.
Got it. So do you know if it was approved that some of the funds went to teaching costs? Because I just don't know if teaching costs is a category we're allowed to support with an MPG. So that's why I was asking if this is very similar and was that kind of funding approved?
I believe so. If we need to reword something, I'm happy to do that, but I believe that.
Yeah, I just don't know. I mean, we'll have to check.
Yeah, I can ask,
And well, I saw Hunter had a hand up and now Teresa has a hand up, and then you're gonna talk.
oh,
Because I was
yeah.
asking you a
I'm
question.
just
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
jump in. Susanna, is this the same language? In the same format that you have used on the other
That's what-
MPGs?
If you know.
Yes.
Okay, then I think that we should probably not let that deter us from moving forward, Laura.
Well, I don't
whatever
want
amount.
it to deter us. I mean, I want to see if we have to massage it into different.
If she
line
said that's
items.
the language and she's been approved through other neighborhood councils, then I don't know why we'd have to ask her to adjust the language.
And can
All
I
right.
jump in here? I imagine, and correct me if I'm wrong, Susanna, but this would be, if anything, paying dance instructors, not just paying the teachers of the school, right?
Oh,
And
correct,
I
yes.
feel like we have given money before to creatives to come in and teach children or help
Correct.
children with things.
That's exactly right. This is going towards the dance teachers who are part of the nonprofit, not employees of the school.
So I feel like that should be fine.
Yeah. So,
I have a follow-up actually also. Have you also talked to the West Adams Neighborhood Council about funding for these events?
I did not know there was a West Adams Neighborhood
Wait,
Council.
wait.
I thought
That's
that
the
this
confusion
was.
of the name. Hang on. We're in West Adams and this
Mhm.
school is in West Adams. The West Adams Neighborhood Council is in the new West Adams, but she's correctly, the Pio Pico and Carson Gore are in historic West Adams and in the middle of UNNC. So this school is at the corner of 3rd and Washington.
I see.
So the West Adams Neighborhood Council would not have children who go to this school. However, Mid-City Neighborhood Council might, as you go forward, because Crenshaw's the dividing line between the neighborhood councils, but the service area for the school might go farther west. I'm not sure.
Yes,
So-
and we did
so-
already successfully apply to Mid-City because
No,
one of our other.
Not Mid-City West, but Mink, which is, it's very confusing.
It is very confusing.
Yeah, plain old ordinary Mid-City Neighborhood Council or Mink is at Crenshaw and Washington,
Okay.
going west from there. And I don't know the service area for Carson Gore for students. But since it's also, I think, a bit of a magnet, it might include that area. I don't know that for sure. Anyway, so, okay, so Teresa, did I already capture your questions? Hunter had more questions?
Nope.
Do you have more questions?
It looks like a great proposal. I would just say $5,000 is a lot.
Yeah.
Of our total MPG budget. So I would suggest what we would be able to safely give would probably be around 2.
So the non-personal.
Yeah, so the non-personnel total teaching cost at the top line where it says $2,000.
Or this.
Or I was also looking at the in-school show, the end of the year show, where maybe we could donate. Okay, now I need my glasses.
You want to sit
thank you.
here? Because it is hard to see it up there.
Right, so then when we
See, that's 2,000, that's 2,000.
yeah.
So you
So
should
that,
ask Michael's opinion on the total amount too.
yes,
Is Michael still here?
yes, okay.
Yes, I'm right here. I mean, the somewhere between 2,000 and 2,500 seems to be within the bounds of what we normally.
Of
Yes,
what
yeah, we're happy with 25.
Yeah.
Laura.
I mean, we can give half of the request and they can use it for
Whatever.
what, yeah. But 5 is what we're cutting into the total MPG.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I would, here we are just dancing.
Okay, sorry.
We're learning how to dance. I see Teresa.
I'm happy to help
Teresa
with
has
that.
her hand up.
Thank you, Laura. Yes, I agree. 2,000 to 2,500 is a good amount. And if necessary, that they could, Susanna could update the MPG under the non-personnel related expenses, the Carson Gore in-school show and the Carson Gore end of year show. Maybe make, if you guys executive decides to do 2,500, to make each one of them like 1,250 or
Right.
the 1,000, but then remove the top part, because then that would alleviate your concerns, Laura, about the personnel part. So
Okay,
that's my 2 cents.
Okay, well, so that would be my motion to recommend to the governing board up to $2,500 for the Carson Gore in-school show and the Carson Gore end of year show events, and noting that some of those and the training in between. And noting that some of that will be a little retroactive for you.
Mhm.
That's not part of the motion, but 2,500 for the shows. Is there a second?
I will second that.
Everybody seconded it.
Everybody.
Okay, well, how about I ask, is there a first? Did you make the motion? And Michael seconds?
Yes, so the motion is, we recommend to move the California Dance Institute to the governing board with a recommendation of up to $2,500 to support their in-school show and end of the year show for the Carson Gore is it elementary school?
Mhm.
Or middle school, yes.
And Michael
Excellent.
second,
I second that.
great. All in favor? It passes. Okay, I'm stopping this share.
Thank you. Do you have a recommendation for what I should put as the date funds are required by? Should I put the
Oh, go ahead
event of
and
the year?
Yeah, go ahead and put the April 7th start date.
Okay. Great.
It's just that highly unlikely they'll write the check that quickly.
Yeah,
Sure, I understand.
Possible, but highly unlikely.
yeah, and you can put through, so if you put April 7th through May 29th, it'll kind of,
Yeah,
that'll be the.
Encompass. Mhm.
right. Okay. Next,
Perfect. Thank you.
let's see, renew the city, UNNC
Thank
cities.
you very much, Susanna. It was nice
Thank you
meeting
so much. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Have a
Susanna.
great rest of your
I'm just
night.
trying, here
That's
I
okay.
am, I'm just trying to get us out. I'm being impolite. Sorry,
No.
Susan.
Thank you so much. Have a great night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, renew the city, UNNC city Zoom license. We have already approved in our budget that we're gonna, in this fiscal year, renew the 2 Zoom licenses, but the city has a process for the neighborhood council to say somehow, create a BAC that says we want to renew the city enterprise account Zoom license. And Paula and I received an email from Alfonso saying, just let us know. And I know that last year when we just let them know, it turned out that we just had to have the board vote, and it was very specific language for the BAC. So I wanted to bring this to executives' attention that we're going to put this on the governing board agenda.
Okay.
Teresa has her hand up, but I was trying to make this a simple agenda item. The Zoom license, Teresa, that the other Zoom license, we've already budgeted that. When the bill comes due, we can just pay it.
I'm not talking about that one. Sorry, Laura.
Okay. Go ahead.
Thank you. So, as you guys know, we have 2 Zoom licenses, which really to me has not made much sense. So my suggestion is that we just have one, and that is either the one that we pay for or this one, the enterprise account. And if it's $200 or whatever the fee is, we just have one Zoom license. We do not need 2. So I put the last year's invoice so everybody could see it. It was $160. I assume it's going to go up a little bit. I don't know if it'll be $200, but we only need one Zoom account to host all of our meetings.
Yeah, so this kind of is circular discussion because we actually discussed it in June and discussed it again in July, August. And the reason we keep 2 is that the city's account is the one that
you're wrong, Laura. We've been through this before. We're trying to save money here. If you may remember, we had a board member storm out because they are concerned about the amount of cost. We spend so much on administrative costs, and we know now we're going to have an additional $130 for the Canva account. The Zoom account
Teresa,
that is issued, but not my turn, Laura. I'm sorry, I'm still speaking.
Actually, I was speaking and you interrupted me, but that is okay. Why don't you finish?
Okay, thank you. It is change from the president and make it Zoom at UNNC or Google at UNNC or any kind of Zoom or any kind of email address we want, with a password that is available to the chair so they can chair their meeting. This way we can have one Zoom account for the entire board. We have been through this before. We do not need the expense of 2 Zoom licenses.
Okay, I've heard what you had to say, and this is a board decision, not an executive committee decision. The difference between the 2 accounts, for those who don't know, is as follows. The city account is an enterprise, what they call an enterprise account. It has unlimited cloud storage, which means as we're recording these meetings, we don't have to download this, we don't have to keep clearing out the cloud storage. We're getting the AI automatically, we're getting the recording automatically. And depending which NEA we have, because Gibson had one opinion, Alfonso saying another, we're not supposed to widely share the password. Now we have it actually in the instruction books at the moment. The other account is essentially a private account with Zoom that we decided to purchase for the committee chairs. I say we, the board decided, I don't know, 2.5, 3 years ago, because we felt there was more freedom in sharing the username and password with anyone who happened to come and go as committee chairs. So the total expenditure for the year is approximately $400. Obviously, if we're going to have only a single Zoom account, it needs to be the one that's got the unlimited cloud and also ultimately has the ability to have 500 people. Not that we've ever had a Zoom meeting with 500 people, but it's the cloud storage that's key. The one we pay for privately, I think it has three gigs and then we're done. So we have to download stuff consistently. Is that right, Teresa? I mean,
are you asking me a question?
Yeah,
Well, first of all, remember, all of our meetings are also streamed on YouTube. You are the only one who stores the meeting, and you do that for planning and zoning, and then you
take it down.
extract it and save it on your hard drive. So the reality is we do not need to store any of our meetings in the Zoom account. If you want to, I have no problem. And when it fills up, I let you know, and then you save it to your hard drive. But all of our meetings are on YouTube. So it's
Yeah.
not like people don't have access to the meetings, but that answered, if I answered your question.
Okay, but again, tonight's meeting was to inform everyone because we need to take it to the board. You remember, this is executive committee. Hunter, you have your hand up.
Well, I just had a question. Is the AI like recaps of it, is that just an enterprise feature, or does our private one have that as well?
It does not. Well, she's saying it does. I don't know.
It
Actually,
does too.
probably
It's not
does.
activated because I never activated it, but it has.
Or we have the
AI
ability to
feature,
use
but
it?
I
Right.
never activated it.
Hunter, if we're gonna only have one, we would keep the city account. I think that's obvious because of unlimited file storage just is obvious. And once we lose it, we can't get it back. Whereas if we wanted the private one, if we want to cancel it and then redo it a year from now, that's fine too.
Is that
I
what
mean,
it
yeah, I
said
don't
with-
necessarily care which one that we keep. It does seem silly that we're spending $400 on Zoom a year. It really does. And it doesn't matter really to me which one we keep. I do think that we should kind of review that, especially if the rules are now, you know, if they're iffy, if we're not sure if we can share or
No,
not. One person says one thing,
can
one
I
person
just
says the
say-
other.
I know we are not supposed to share, but I also we have now the instruction book because it's a ridiculous position that whoever's running the meeting can't launch the meeting. I mean, that's also silly. I
What
think
did we do? You said we just got this account 2.5 years ago. What did we do before that?
No, we've been from May 2020. No, from May 2021, we've had the city account. From May 2020 through May 2021, we used my account when I was president. I just bought a Zoom account and we used it. But then the city finally got their act together with us and created a Gmail. It's a long story, but the short story is they couldn't connect to our Yahoo account, and then finally they created it Gmail.
I just have a quick question. What did Alfonso say about this?
Alfonso, off the top of his head, said, "Oh, I don't know why we can't share our passwords." But his boss, Gibson, said you can't. So it's like, but it's silly because at this point, 4 or 5 years into Zoom, initially they were protecting everything. When COVID hit, it was like secret. But over
I think it's in the
time-
best interest of the board, honestly, to try to reduce costs
Yeah.
as much as we can on
Yeah, well,
administrative
I'm
things
saying
after
over time,
last month.
almost every neighborhood council has had multiple presidents and multiple vice presidents, so those secret passwords
Right.
are probably not very secret anymore. So, you know, if what you want to convert this conversation to the governing board, this would be Candace and Michael, and then myself, is a recommendation to renew the city license and to drop the other one, which is fine. But we won't be able to, you know, I would personally very much oppose dropping the city one because it has far more features for the same price.
Sure.
So keep the city one, and did we pay for the?
No, they're
We
both,
didn't pay.
they're
Yeah,
both in
yeah,
May.
Around that, yeah.
They're both in May.
So-
But that, however, wasn't exactly what Alfonso says. So, we would, at the board itself, we're gonna need to have 2 motions.
Okay,
One would be to not renew the committee, the private one we use for committees.
Mm.
And to do the work to transfer, we'll have to, all the committees will need new,
No, that's incorrect. First of all, I disagree with so much you just said, Laura.
would all the committee, I don't think we could keep the meeting IDs. I think we'd have to set up new meeting IDs. It's fine, but we
No,
would
we
have
have to set up new,
meeting
we
IDs for
have to
each committee.
generate new meeting IDs.
For each
because we-
committee.
Right?
Yeah.
That's not what I was going to say though, Laura. I don't know if I was called on for my hand being raised or not.
Well, I think you haven't been called on, but I'm still trying to clarify with Michael and Candace, we recommending keeping a single Zoom account.
I mean, it makes sense if the city's account does everything and more than the
And more.
private account.
Right.
And now you can share passwords,
Or
just
well-
put everything on the city account with the storage
Yeah,
and save $200.
Michael,
I concur.
hey, Teresa,
There's so much I want to say, but I'm just going to talk about the simplicity of having one account.
well, that's what we're recommending, having one account.
I know. I just heard Michael, I just heard Candace. I mean, I could spend more time contradicting many of the things that you just said, but there is a simplicity that happens with having one account. For instance, what happened with Grace and Karine the other day, they were unable to have their meeting. We had to get a second verification. If we have one account, that if every time the computer does a reboot or it gets a new upgrade, it clears out all of those things. So now the communications person can provide that, or there could be the president or there could be some other way to access the secondary verification instead of it falling to me or I think it still goes to Paul, the former treasurer. So there is a simplicity that happens with having just one Zoom account.
Right.
Okay, so I can move. Okay, so I move that we recommend that we keep the city Zoom license and get rid of the private Zoom and just merge and have one Zoom account that's based on the city internet.
Or allow it to expire. It expires
Yeah,
in
expires in
May.
May.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's not like we
Yeah.
just would not, I would go in and make sure that it doesn't automatically renew. It would just
Well, I don't think
expire.
it would, because isn't your credit card canceled?
It's not a
Oh, that's so
renewal
weird.
for a credit card. I mean, it's a renewal to let us know that we have an account, we have to pay it. So it would be like, no, we're going to end our account at the end of this year, this annual period.
Okay, that's fine.
Michael, do you concur with the motion?
Yes, I second that.
All right, all in favor? Okay. Canva Pro license, approximate cost $130. That's also a yes. That's it.
Well,
Right,
I don't need to
Hunter?
comment if you guys already know, but I think that this is important enough to spend the money on, especially if we're going to be saving money elsewhere. I've used it quite a bit this year. I imagine we'll continue to use it throughout the election and afterwards.
So how easy is it to use Canva?
Canvas is easy.
Very.
Yeah, I mean, even a free account is easy to use.
Yeah.
What this really does is it allows us to get assets that are made right from Done and right from Empower LA, so they're able to send us things that are ready to post with our logo already on it and everything, which we've done for the election. It also allows us to get like the Pro account and Pro tools, and allows us to have a lot more like template options that you would get with a Pro account.
Okay, so we will need a standalone motion also as governing board for this. Oh, Teresa, is your hand still up or new up?
No, I just raised it for Canva.
Okay. Okay.
And we did use it when Sarah Longhenry created the brochure, and all of these documents are stored. So if at any point we need to go in and update them, they are there. And like Siobhan said, it's very, very user friendly. And we're having those pro in apps to do some extra designs has been great. Ever used it when he did the election postcards. So it is very, very helpful.
Okay, so so the motion is to recommend to the board that we tell the city, yes, we would like to renew the city Zoom license with the approximate cost of $200. But I'll ask, that's the motion.
Yeah, then we voted on that one already, so
Yeah, the
this,
Canva one
Canva.
now.
so this
Canva,
would be.
130, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
so
not
this
200.
would be,
Canva Pro license.
yeah, move to take to the governing board to renew our Canberra Pro license.
I will second that.
Okay, all in favor? Laura, everybody. So what I was gonna say is for both of these, I will ask Alfonso to be sure we have the correct language
Okay.
for our BACs, so we only have to do this once and not
Mhm.
find ourselves in May doing it a second time. So Michael, we'll get some exact language, hopefully in advance for the BACs. But if we don't have it in advance, we'll just hold off on submitting those BACs until we get perfect language, rather than revoting in May. Okay, it's 8:35, so I just wanted to mention UNNC governing board vacancies. We don't need to do much of anything tonight, but we will have on July 1st, we will have 2 vacancies in area 1. We will have 1 vacancy in area 6, and then the seat that Betty is sitting in, but she hasn't resigned, but she hasn't been able to attend either. So it's 1 vacancy and 1, she probably won't be at the meeting. We will have 1 vacancy for area 3. We will have 1 vacancy in area 5, and we will have 1 at-large vacancy, all on July 1st. So what I want us to consider after the election, after we know everything, is should we be attempting to appoint anyone to any of those seats, making the appointment in June to commence on July 1, so we may or may have a better chance of quorum come July. But I just wanted to throw that out if we want to have a brief conversation about it. Or not.
The only question I would have is, do we have anyone interested in even being appointed?
Well, we haven't solicited. I mean, in other words, this would have to be, well, I mean, yes, there's here and there we have some potential interest, but we have to wait for the election to finish. So because we don't know who's not elected, but we would have to do the e-blast and say we're going to interview at executive in May to recommend to the board in June. I mean, in other words, we'd have to do some planning on this because it has to be a fair process, not just, hey, we like you, do you want to take this seat? I mean, we can't do that. Teresa?
Thank you, Laura. So for Region 3, obviously we have to wait to the end of my term. We can't, even if there is someone, we can't interview or appoint someone.
July 1. We'd be appointing for July 1.
Right.
Which is the day after the end of your term.
Okay. But there was someone who I spoke with at the event the other day who said she submitted her application
for area 5.
Robia, I think is her name. So I thought that you did not. What is the process for that?
Well, we'd have to. So we do have an applicant for the area 5. The seat is not vacant. The seat won't be vacant until July 1.
Okay, and she was informed of that? I kind of didn't, I didn't understand because, my feeling is that during an election, we're not going to appoint anybody. If you want, if you're interested, you should run. But
correct.
What happened that she felt that there was a vacancy that she could be appointed?
This I have no idea. There is no vacancy. I mean, I'm sorry, she's applying for area 6 and the seat is not vacant. It just will be vacant. So it's on the ballot but it's not currently vacant. It will be vacant as of July 1, just as your seat will be vacant as of July 1, and no one chose to run for it.
Right.
So the seat she's eyeing is the seat Marco holds, because he's holding it through June 30th.
Right.
And then
maybe someone should email her and let her know, Laura, because I was very confused why she submitted her application.
Right.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, confused. So submitted her application to run, like through the city?
No, to us.
No.
She came to I was only here for a few minutes.
She came to the event, but she said, I submitted my application. I went online and submitted it to the president. And
it came into our Gmail.
Oh.
And it was sitting in spam.
Right.
But it also went to Paula, and I don't know if Paula, I gather Paula did not.
How long had it?
No, it was 2 days. It was 2 days earlier.
Yeah, so I don't
Yeah.
understand what she was doing. I was speaking with her like she had applied
Yeah.
to be a candidate, and I was like, well, that,
That
that
train
window's
has
already
left the
closed.
station, yes.
Yeah,
But
so, okay.
that train had left the station. So again, I don't know what, Hunter, I don't know if our website still says if you want to join the board, click here and fill out an application. It must still say that.
Probably, yeah. I mean, that page is
Source of
always
the
open.
application.
We
Yeah,
didn't take that off just for the election, no.
right, right. So I mean, it's all good. My real question is for us to consider timing. That's what I'm trying to talk about.
Well,
I'm
I
thinking
don't
if
think
we
you should
can-
interview anyone for the seats that are currently filled until after they're not filled. I just don't, I feel
Okay.
that's inappropriate. That's my 2 cents.
That's your 2 cents. And so I feel as that we should take a serious step in June to ensure we have quorum in July. So if there's any other seat, because I don't think we're going to magically find all the people to fill all the vacancies in right away anyway. But I want to make sure we have quorum in July so that we can A, operate, and then B, appoint other people. So in other words, but even this one seat where this one situation where she's given us an application, I don't think we should just automatically say, oh, good, let's appoint her. I think we have to have a process where we've announced that we're gonna do it and that a person could apply. Right? I mean, Siobhan.
I just wanted to provide a little bit of context to this that I think may be missing. I would probably fall under this because there's 3 people running and there's only 2 seats in 4. And so if I lose, I would probably want to be considered for one of those at-large seats. It's not clear from the UNNC website what the process is to run. Initially, I thought it was just applying to the president and sending an email. Laura, you set me straight because it's not completely clear what that you have to go to Empower LA. You explained the process to me. So I thought when I had sent that application that it was an application to run. It wasn't clear that you have to go through that process with the city. So she may have submitted that application the same reason I did. She's like, oh, there's elections happening. I want to run. And she saw the email on on the website that says, if you want to be a member at large, email the president. And to me, it looked like the process. She probably had the same reaction.
Well, that is the process in between election cycles.
Correct. But that wasn't clear to me or to that woman that we met on Saturday. So I just wanted to insert some of that context. Teresa, I don't necessarily think it's appropriate to maybe solicit some at-large members while folks are outgoing. I don't necessarily think anyone's going to be offended by that, but maybe people are more sensitive than I imagine they are. But I would probably have the same questions about having a quorum in July.
Yeah, I don't know about interviewing someone, but it seems okay to queue it up for July 1st, right? So that if we solicit people to apply for it, that process would, kick off in the first meeting in July, and that we would have all that queued up and ready to go.
Yeah, I'm just literally concerned that we can't have a first meeting in July if we can't reach quorum at the meeting. So we can relook at the math at April meeting, because it would be the May executive. If we think we want to make a few appointments at the June board meeting for the July 1st period of time, then in May at executives when we would be interviewing candidates. Right? And that's after we've spent most of our money, so we don't have to spend most of May talking about budget. Yes. Well, we have to talk about next year. I mean, again, we have to wait till the election is over. We have to know who won, who lost, who's available. But remember, even Area 5, we have 2 candidates for 1 seat, but we actually have 2 seats. So we'll want to be discussing, do we open it all up, or do we want to invite whoever gets the fewer votes to simply be in the seat that's actually available? And it's available now, to be clear. the one that Christopher Weed occupied. So these are all the questions we don't need to do. We're not making decisions tonight. I just wanted to start out the conversation. Because I don't know what's happening in the election. Teresa, is your hand back up?
Yeah, how many vacancies do we have right now, Laura?
We have, well, the right now is different than what will be July 1.
I'm just asking right now. We have.
Right now, we have 1 at large, 1 area 5, 1 area 1.
So
Two
on
at,
the 22
sorry, we have two at larges, but one of them will be consumed by those of us running.
Okay, but right now, we have
Two
3 vacancies,
No. We have area 1,
right?
area 5, 2 at large. We have 4
We have
vacancies. That sound right?
Okay, we have 4 out of, so right now we have
And we have
19,
and
we have 19
and
board
we have
members,
Betty.
our
I'm
quorum is
sorry.
13.
I'm sorry, and we have Betty. It's not exactly
But
vacant.
Betty, I know, but she is still a board member. She's not,
Correct. So she's not attending.
right? But
She is
she's
a
a
board
board
member.
member. I'm sure if I gave her a text and said, Betty, please show up on Zoom. We need you to vote. We need you. She'd show up on Zoom. No one has even reached out to her, but that's okay. So right now we have 4 vacancies. That means we have 19 board members for a
Correct.
quorum of 13. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay,
And what will happen as of July 1, if we do nothing, is we'll have 2 area 1s.
right.
We'll have 1 area 3.
Okay.
We'll have 1 area 5. We will have 1 area 6. So that's 5. And we will have at least 1, maybe 2, I'm losing track, at least 1 at large.
We have
Maybe
7
2.
candidates for at-large right now. Which one would
I
not
understand,
be?
but ever resigned. We don't have 8 seats. We have 8 seats, but we only have 7 candidates and only 7 are on the ballot. Ever resigned after we set the ballot.
Okay.
So we have 6 automatic vacancies on July 1. So 23 minus 6.
That's 17. So
Right.
there's
So-
17.
And
our
a
quorum
senior,
is 13.
and a senior citizen who's not been attending meetings.
Okay.
So
So that's 16. Once
16.
again, our quorum is 13.
Yeah, and Teresa, I
I'm
understand.
just pointing out the facts. That's all. I understand the
understand.
nuances, Laura. I'm just pointing out the facts. Okay.
So when we currently have 19 and have trouble reaching 13. So we will have 16. It won't make it easier to reach 13. It'll be down 3. That I think this is a long enough piece of the conversation. But if we can't reach quorum, then we can't fix our problem. We can't make appointments without reaching quorum. So that's my main point. That and we don't have to make any decisions tonight. And it's not on the agenda as governing board. Just something to think about, but we will have to make a decision at the April executive to recommend something to the board. And obviously Paula should be engaging in this conversation too. Okay. Election update. We have it 12 minutes. Is there an election update that we
No,
want to?
it's just that we did get 9 additional applications. Thank you very much, Candace. I believe some of the people who mailed in their applications have already been notified, so thank you very much for that.
Me too. Ballots on its
And
way.
we're going to be promoting the meet and greet candidate at the South Seas House for the 29th. And I almost have that flyer done, Siobhan. I'm going to email that tomorrow so you can then distribute that to people in your community.
Thank you. I have a whole ream of paper I just ordered from Amazon, just waiting to go.
Okay.
Okay. All right, committee reports, if any. No. Planning and zoning is tomorrow night with a liquor store on the agenda. And also, the city has released the updated report, sort of updated report on what they want to do on the Mills Act. And they still want to cancel contracts. I mean, our position is probably the same as it was before, but they still want to cancel contracts and they still are misinterpreting some of the original stuff. So I haven't really read everything, but I don't know if, well, Teresa, your opinion on this. Well, we have a position that was filed as a CIS already, or as a resolution with the planning commission. Do we need to bring to the board, do we need to have this as a board agenda item? Or do we
I don't
wait
think
till
so.
tomorrow
Maybe
night?
we can talk about it tomorrow at planning and zoning and then
Right,
make the
and
decision. But
decide.
if it's the same opinion and nothing has changed, then.
Yeah, I'm not sure. John wrote it up, so I have to really, I've just been looking through all of old stuff and throwing it into agenda packets without actually reading everything. Unfortunately, it's been a lot. So the liquor, so I'm just moving from committee reports to agenda items. We're gonna have all of these, whatever you guys decided on A, beautiful LA. All of this will be on the agenda. We have Century Liquor and probably Mills Act maybe, and I don't think there's any other planning and zoning items on the agenda. We will have. What? Is there anything else that I know? That's interesting. I had silenced my phone and here it is ringing. Any other agenda items?
I think communications may have something for the agenda and the tree committee may also have something for the agenda.
Oh, right, Hunter, you have a lot of stuff going on that you might be bringing forward. And what
Yeah, I have a number of agenda items for the communications committee happening on Thursday.
Right, so will they be going forward to governing board?
Hopefully at least like 2 or 3 of them. Yeah.
Okay. And then did public safety, that was it. Did they vote on, Teresa, did you go to that meeting?
I just was there initially, but I do think they're working on a CIS regarding
Right.
fireworks. And
Okay.
there were 2 and one other one I'm not.
Yeah, there were 2, yes, the speed thing. So you don't know, I'll have to check with Grace, but I think they'll have 2 things as well for the agenda. So this will be once again a packed meeting. I'm gonna say that I would really, to the extent that I'm running the meeting, maybe Paul will be running this one. But if I were running the meeting on April 3rd, I would not wish to have really long conversations about each of these funding items. I mean, I think we need to be more efficient.
That's why we had the conversation.
That's why we have the conversations here, is I guess what I'm trying to say.
Both of the funding items also were reduced greatly in cost. So, we'll probably have less discussion about a $500 cost than we would about a $5,000
Well,
cost.
that's not even what I mean about the Zoom license, the Canva Pro license.
I
mean,
yeah.
everything.
I think we're all on the
we
same
did
page
everything
about
we need
Canva
to.
at least.
Yeah, I
Sorry.
mean, in other words, our actual operating rules that we hardly follow is 5-minute presentations, 5-minute discussions, and you're done. Right? And we have a hard time doing that. Including
Well, I don't think we'll need to talk about
Well,
Canva for 5 minutes. I think
Yeah.
that's pretty straightforward.
No, but I mean, I'm saying these words out loud because the liquor store as well is an emotional item. And I'm trying to, this is a liquor store that some years ago, a young man was murdered, and that young man was the son of somebody who's an important stakeholder at UNNC. So it's every time this liquor store comes up for a conditional use renewal, it gets very emotional. So I'm saying the words out loud for me too, to try and make sure our board meeting goes efficiently.
Is that something that we can maybe move those type of items sooner? So do you just get them done and versus saving them?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem to help either way. I mean, what helps the most is if the upfront government officials don't. That too. Anyway, I know I'm forgetting something. There is one other thing that I know is on the governing board that I can't remember. So maybe something from last month that was tabled. Oh, yes, World Harvest. That is. So it was tabled because the gal couldn't come and she is coming for April 3rd. So, okay.
What is the request, Laura, for their MPG? What is the dollar amount?
Well, the request was, I think it's still there.
25?
Well, several they're asking 5, I think Lisa recommended 1,500.
Yeah. They're trying to fundraise money to get
For another
delivery
delivery
truck.
van.
The truck, right, the refrigerated truck, but what was the dollar amount? I don't remember.
Well, it was on the governing board agenda, I think it was 1,500.
It's like 1,500.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. But I'm saying it's yet another item.
I think that we could move through. We just have.
Well, I guess I'm saying I need some backup if I'm running this when people keep wanting to raise.
I will help you with the backup, Laura.
Yeah, and just say, but we're trying to move forward and then, but I want to talk, but we're trying to move forward and everyone else then either glares at me or raises their hand in response so they could say something. Just.
Well, I mean, we can't be arbitrary when we're going to enforce the 5-minute rule and when we're not. It needs to be consistent, but I certainly will help you move things through and facilitate.
And maybe Paula will be in the room and it's not me at all anyways.
I have a question. Is it possible that you can maybe tell people to keep their questions or thoughts or responses to like 30 seconds for 1 minute?
No.
But like,
Oh yeah, that'll work.
maybe have a timekeeper or something.
Yeah,
You know, to
well,
say,
I mean,
we're take 10 minutes total to talk about this issue and have someone literally.
Well, that would be
have
very
someone
helpful.
literally keep the time. Like I've been to meetings where it's like, okay.
Well, where someone is saying time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but we have the item, you have
Right.
10 minutes to talk about the item and whatever discussion goes on, and when the time is up, then you close it out and you move to.
Well,
does that help? Is that against city rules?
that works really well.
Okay.
And what also works really well is if people read everything in the agenda packet in advance. It doesn't-
Exactly. That would be very helpful instead of people coming and then asking some very basic questions, which were presented at the planning and zoning meeting, for instance, or is in the documentation.
Yeah,
right.
We've had that happen many times.
Right.
Well, maybe we could test out the 10-minute per item thing and see if that works.
If someone would agree to be the timekeeper for the meeting,
Sure, I'll do it.
but you present, so.
Oh, well, we'll recruit someone to be a timer that's not doing something. And
I
see.
will
My-
volunteer to run a clock.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so that keeps things
Right.
going.
And speaking of 3 minutes before adjournment, so we didn't run a good meeting, but that's, we're done. Okay. Anything else? Because we can't adjourn. All right. It's adjourned. Thank you.